This is the book of Matthew, chapter 7. And it reads Matthew 7 and verse 13. Enter ye in at the straight gate. When you go into the word straight, Strait, it means a path of difficulty. The scriptures talk about when you depart from evil, you make yourself a prey. So trying to walk a righteous walk in a wicked ass kingdom is very difficult. You know, um, but it's doable. Our big brother, our Lord and Savior, showed us that. You know, about being the ensample for the hopeful elect. It says, "Enter ye in at the straight gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction." Scriptures talk about follow not a multitude to do evil, and many there be which go in thereat. Verse 14, because straight is the gate, and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. I'm going to reread that in the NLT. It says, but the gateway to life is very narrow, and the road is difficult, and only a few ever find it. What's that? Deuteronomy, it talks about, I'll put before you both life and death. Choose ye this day. Joshua said, I don't know who you're going to serve, but me and my house are going to serve the Lord. While majority of the world chooses to serve Shantan and Esau, Edom, and, just with all matters of wickedness, the hopeful elect are going to, that's what the scripture said, pretty much the road is difficult and only a few ever find it, because it's going to be more destroyed than it's going to be saved. So I want to start off by giving all praise, all honor, and all glory to call Elohim La Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Hakodash, double honors to the elders and to the apostles I learned this truth from. Peace and salutations to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and the freedom to do so. Now more so than ever. Shalom to the Akim and Aquath to listening and learning. Lord willingly is edified. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad in the land of other nations, appearing like the other nations, but whom subscribe to this truth. To you I say Shalom. It's Brother Yahusap coming at you in the lesson through the Spirit, through the power of Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai. Yahweh meaning He is, He exists, or He to be. By Hashem, Baz, and Haz, the Hashem, His name, Yahushai, meaning He saves or He delivers. True names of the Most High God and His Son. People ignorantly call God and Jesus Christ, but whose true name in the Paleo Hebrew is Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai. This lesson is inspired by pretty much I was reading this book that I found when I was homeless, and the book is deep. I really never had a chance to really read it, and then when I read it, like one day, it's a lot of deep information. It goes into the timelines of certain prophets. And it just tells you, like, it's a synopsis of what was going on at the time and was the point of the prophet's message. It gives you dates. It's a pretty cool little book. And I found it when I was homeless, and I was reading something in it, and it mentioned a book called the Westminster's Bible, or Westminster Dictionary of the Bible, roughly paraphrased. So I went to the library trying to find this book, and that book wasn't there, but it was a multitude of books that the Lord just put the Spirit on me to grab these books, because I want to devote more time to, study, although we at the end, but, it's comforting, you know what I mean? And the Lord blessed me with a situation, which some people might be, you know what I mean? Some men are better off with a Eve, I don't want an Eve, but the Lord kind of made it have a woman in my life, which make a lot of sense because I'm a guy with daughters, you know what I mean? And I'm kind of like, what's the word? I'm kind of rough, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I don't have, I could be sensitive. They say some of the most insensitive people are the most sensitive. My demon used to say that shit. And I could be insensitive, but I could be the most sensitive person ever, one of my childlike ways, because I was listening to brothers talking about how you always trying to be around somebody, but you ain't gonna know how to deal with you ain't gonna know how to deal with certain shit when you by yourself. You got a lot of men that's used to the brotherhood, and it's a beautiful thing having the brothers, but at the same time, you don't know how the Lord about to test you. I was listening to a particular elder brother. He was going into how he was talking about the fear of the Lord, and it's so spiritual because he did this video today, and I was reading this passage in this book today, so it just lined up so perfectly. The name of the book is called Their Finest Hour: 30 Biblical Figures Who Pleased the Most High at Great Cost. And I was reading something in there, and it made me just think about, because we're about to come into a time of great persecution. The brother was going into how DJ Trump basically is calling out anybody that's against the what America's doing as far as with Iran and the war. He said they should be pretty much arrested, and tried. And like the brother was saying, it's not far fetched. This man has done everything else. You got to remember, they're building internment camps as we speak. I did lessons on this. Brothers, a lot of brothers bring out a certain same information. Like brothers be like, I said that, I said it. Brothers don't remember who said what first, for real. Because it's the spirit of the Lord ultimately. And that's what I need to keep in mind. You know what I mean? I'm just grateful that the Lord, because again, I've seen individuals that bugged out. I don't know if I don't think I bugged out. I think, Jake, that could be Jake being sincere, like really just miss a brother, or maybe, I don't know. I gotta, my style is all over the place. I'm like Drunken Master. But anyhow, I'm just rattling at this point. But brother was going into the fear of the Lord. And, he was like, to, how did he say it? He said, fear to live, not live to fear. And how the elect or the hopeful elect gonna have that quality of fear. Now, the thing is, you got men that have been doing this work, but then this great persecution that's coming is gonna make them pretty much, jump off the internet and tuck tail. But you know what I was thinking about today? It actually transfer your mail. Like say you move, in order to transfer your mail, set up because it's the Lord's movie. Only way you're escaping is if it's the will of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua. Now, reading this, like I said, I was reading this today, and I was just thinking about. Let me get that great persecution. I'm extremely tired, so Salakia. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, and but I said no. Let me get one in. Brothers. That spirit jumped on me because I've been hearing brothers talk about, yeah, hit the button. And right now, if you ain't got nothing to talk about, I mean, there's so much going on that's prophecy, and the persecution is prophecy. I was just talking about, I'll speak on what the Lord put on my spirit to speak on, but, speaking on prophecy, because you're going to have men that's going to, heart's going to fail them out of fear. You're going to have men that's going to tuck tail and run, but you can't. They got us recorded. There's so much technology recording you constantly. When they present you the evidence and be like, that want you? What you gonna say? And everybody got big ass donkey nuts when it's when they feel safe. But what happens when nobody, you by yourself? Is you still gonna stand on that? Again, I'm not saying I mean, again, I like to think that I'm so tired and I don't give a fuck. I don't think I like to think that but that's the scary thing about the Lord. Like Peter thought, he said he ready to die for the Lord, but then he Peter was ready to kill. That's why he cut that individual's ear off. But at the same time, he was in fear because he couldn't help but follow the Lord. Try to see what was happening to him because like he loved the Lord. But that fear, like overwhelmed him. And that's why probably, I sometimes meditate on that. And I know a lot of brothers be like, that's taboo. They don't like to do that. But why not? Sometimes you got to put yourself in the scriptures. I heard that in the world. Sometimes you got to put yourself in the scriptures. Look at it from their point of view, these different angles, and then the Lord might bless you with a better understanding of a situation or something. You know what I mean? But it says, Matthew chapter 24 and verse 21. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days shall be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, I just wanted that word tribulation. I can't even see it. There you go. There's the word of the theolipus. That's trying or test.
Strong's G 2347. Thlipsis.
Thlipsis. And it says a pressing together pressure. So ultimately it goes to the test that the Lord is gonna test everybody got a test. Our test might not be the same, but we're all gonna be tested. That's why you got the whole Revelation chapter 3, the hour of temptation. This man test might be the Lord put him in a position where you're gonna give up your family. You're gonna have some men this test might be, or pressure might be, they might have their head up under a guillotine. And I was thinking about what the brother was saying, because he was like, well, you got individuals talking about they believe in the Most High God, but yet and still they don't even know the name. The Lord ain't giving you. Now the Lord can do whatever He wants, but at the same time, if you just calling on God a title, you don't really have a relationship with Yahweh Shem Yahushua. And when you are shaken up, when you are tested, you don't know how you're gonna react. Think about it. Like when you read accounts like Elijah was so broken down he wanted to die. So don't tell me about like a motherfucker soft, or like you don't know what the Lord was putting that man through. It's easy, motherfuckers, to say. It's easy for somebody to say something that they ain't never experienced, especially a young man ready to fuck the world until they get fucked over. We all been them young bulls talk about, oh yeah, you can't, you unstoppable. So somebody stop your ass. I've lived long enough to say you tip the Lord. Say some shit and the Lord give you what you just was talking shit about right 5 minutes later. That's why you never tempt the Lord. That's why you don't play with the Lord. You play with your children. I play video games, but I only play them up until a point. You know what I mean? It says metaphor: oppression, affliction, tribulation, distress, straits, a difficult a difficult path. So we all on this difficult path, because in order to get broke the motherfucker, ain't that about a bitch? In order to get to the wide, we must go through the straight. I just broke. This is the second chain I broke. That's crazy. I gotta go get two. That's crazy. Something about these chains right now, Lord. Salakia. But so he was going into, like I said, and then he brought up the scripture about pretty much the seed falling on stony ground. Which I'm gonna get that as well. And then I'm gonna bring out as a matter of fact, he said this was the precept of the day. He quoted Proverbs chapter 14. And I think it was verse 27, and he reads, the fear of the Lord, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. Well, I'm going to start up. Verse 26, in the fear of the Lord, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, is strong confidence, and his children shall have a place of refuge. The fear of the Lord, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, is a fountain of life to depart from the snares of death. And the scriptures talk about through fear we persuade men. And what else did what was I say? I was going into oh yeah, it's Matthew chapter 13. Matthew chapter 13, I think it's verse 20. But it started up. Matthew chapter 13 and verse 18, and it reads, hear ye therefore the parable of the sower. When anyone heareth the word of the kingdom and understandeth it not, then cometh the wicked one and catcheth away that which was sown in his heart, meaning in his mind. This is he which receiveth seed by the wayside, but he that received the seed into stony places, the same is he that heareth the word and anon with joy receiveth it, yet hath he not root in himself. So, people first time hearing the scriptures and talk about the pleasures of heaven, but yet and still you don't understand that you must suffer. The scriptures talk about in the book of Acts 14, through much tribulation we gonna receive the kingdom. So if you ain't been tried or tested or been through shit, You know, and that's, you know, again, I used to whine a lot, but a lot of Jakes didn't, you know, I remember brothers, what seemed like, I remember brothers sitting up there saying that, damn, they feel like they worried because if the Lord ain't taking you through something. And I was always going through shit. And you know, again, I could talk to a brother here and there, but I ain't really, you know, I mean, that was my life, you know what I mean? And I'm not the weirdest individual, you know what I mean? I had people I fuck with in the world and got people I fuck with now. Well, not really. I really just deal with my children and this female, you know what I mean? And the Lord, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, I feel the spirit move the brothers and, you know, I hear little things and whatnot. But, you know, again, I'm not allowed to come down to the, well, I'm going to take that back. You know, I was told not to come down there, but then it was like, well, if you come down there, you know, that's the will of the Lord. But why would I come down to some place that people don't want me yet? I ain't that rebellious. It says, so yeah, like I did that video, the man, you know, only having the Lord. And the thing is certain individuals that are gonna have a certain spirit because again, you got a lot of people that's in this thing for, you know, I was listening to that brother speak on that. He was like, what are you in this thing for? You know, all this going on and you ain't got nothing to speak on. You waiting for somebody else to speak. You want to do a video when this brother do. I mean, I remember seeing certain things like that. I remember we would have to come together to have a brother do a video because he really wasn't in this. He was in the world. And it's individuals like that, as late in the game as it is, you know, just imagine some people that was in the world that used to, I mean, that was in this truth that's literally back in the world and they seeing this, but they don't even recognize it. That's a terrifying, you know, that's a terrifying thought. I pray the Lord never take the spirit away from me like that. He said, yet hath he not root in himself, but endureth for a while. For when tribulation or persecution arises because of the word, by and by he is offended. He also that receiveth seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, and the care of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becometh unfruitful. But he that received seed into the good ground, into the good foundation, is he that heareth the word and understandeth it, which also beareth fruit and bringeth forth some an hundredfold, some 60 and some 30. So they was able to take what they heard and pass it along, you know, push it forward, bring new, you know, believers into this truth. I mean, it's all the will of the Lord. The Lord know who's going to receive it and who's not, you know. But the point is, you know, the Lord even got that set up. But the point I'm bringing out is the fact that the brother was like, you know, you don't know how much faith you really got if you really ain't been through shit. So in actuality, you should be grateful when the Lord taking you through shit. Because like what I learned to look at it now, and I do regret that I didn't, you know, and all these spiritually older people wasn't telling me about, you know, I'm not just no straight bitch. You know what I mean? Like, you know how many times I was like, just being in the truth, you know how many times I went to jail? And that going to jail doesn't make you tougher. What I'm saying is I went to jail and wasn't nobody even checking on me. But I ain't trying to snitch or no shit like that. I'm just speaking on the truth. How the fuck did that become snitching? So we snitching now, huh? No, a snitch is a motherfucker that's doing something dirty. Motherfuckers don't even know the definition of shit. A snitch is a nigga that's doing some crime or doing something sneakily and get caught, and then to get up out of what he got caught for, he snitch. And Esau got it where like the nigga say, you know, even Finesse 2 times said that shit. So, you know, he was like, well, I think he the police. You know? But he said shit, they'll pop a nigga, write up the paperwork right there, and still had them go sell the shit that they was on their way to go sell. So now you got all of them caught up in it. That's how dirty this fucking devil get down. And then more than likely, it's coming from them. I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, Jake gets shit in, and it's actually crime networks and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it all funnels back down to Esau. You know, you got motherfucking Esau collect drugs off the street, and then those same drugs will end up back on the street. Guns will be confiscated off the street, and then end up back on the street. How the fuck you think that's possible? You know, when you go into, like, when prisons have drugs and these different things, how do you think they get that shit in there? By the employees. You know, I was going to do a lesson, though. There was a dude, I forgot what city or state or county he worked for, but he was a CEO. This motherfucker was bringing people chicken into the jail, but he charging them like $20 for like for like a 6-piece. And niggas are so happy just to get the shit, but they got to running their mouth over the phone. That's how you get caught. But now he facing time. So, you know, again, like the irony and how funny, you know, the Lord and how the Lord play out judgment. Pretty soon he gonna be getting bullied in that bitch. But you say same CO that thinking you probably is the shit. And then why would you run up in them like that? They already locked up. You know what I mean? You could have even did this. I'd have got me I wouldn't have did that shit first off. But I'm saying, thinking you could have, instead of motherfucking, like, more than likely, that's what you would think. He would probably have somebody cooking the chicken for him, and then he just selling it. But you selling it at a ridiculous ass price. I think they got mad that he started charging them so much money that they told on him. Either they told on him or they overheard. I think they told, though. Because they don't really give a fuck about certain shit. They be knowing that them hoes be sucking dick and fucking the inmates and shit like that. You don't think they know that? Just don't get caught. Salakia for the rant. But like I said, again, I was thinking about what the brother was saying. You know, for those that think, like I said, you believe in the power, but you don't have a relationship with the power, or those that's really playing with this thing, you know, you had all this grace period to actually, you know, get an understanding, build up your faith. And then now we watching all these things manifest before our eyes. And, you know, you really ain't built it. Because you don't know how the Lord got your part of the movie playing out. You might have a whole to see what the fuck. So I was reading this out of this book, and it was somebody, I forgot what it's called when people speak on the book and the author and all that. But this caught my attention, and then it's another chapter because it goes into, I think, Elisha, and they used the same word, the fear. And it made me think of the brother. Like I said, I was listening to the brother because this was he did a video earlier today. You know, a lot of brothers be in the spirit, so they doing 2 or 3 videos. But he did a video earlier today, and then he did that one. And he was just like he was in the spirit. He wanted to speak, you know, for a moment, and he was like, you know, he went into fear. I think he read 2nd Ezra chapter 9. But he was like the proverb of the day, or the precept of the day was Proverbs chapter 14. So it says, the fear of the Most High is the only antidote to the crippling power of the fear of man. It says, true fear of the Most High does not drive us from him. Instead, it endears us to him. If we want to be effective in the world as followers of Mashiach, we must be willing to break the power of the fear of man in our lives. And that was deep. And that was a quote by this guy, Bill Johnson, senior leader. And like I said, these probably, but just because they appear to be an Edomite doesn't mean that they're Edomites. You know, one sign of a Jake is that, you know, they wholehearted belief in the Lord. You know, that's why the elder always bringing up the Bible-built Christians. They look like and appear like Esau, but they gonna be Jake, and they gonna be fighting against Esau. You know, over my dead body, out of my cold dead hand. You got to pull this bitch out of my cold dead hand. You know what I'm saying? So it made me think of 1 Corinthians chapter 1. Because when that great persecution come, how many really gonna stand for Yahweh Bashim Yahushua? You know, scriptures talk about Yahweh Shah say, when I come back, will I find faith on the earth? Yeah, because of the elect. This is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 1. It's starting at verse 18. For the preaching of the cross is to them that perish foolishness, but unto us that are saved, it is the power of the Most High. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, and I will bring to nothing the understanding of the prudent. Where's the wise? Where's the scribe? Where's the disputer of this world? Have not the Most High made foolishness the wisdom of the world by wisdom knew not the Most High. It pleased the Most High by the foolishness of preaching to save them that believe. So at the end of the day, this looks like a foolish thing, like us being on the highways and hedges. But the funniest part is, it's like a double-edged sword. Like that's the fear. That should make you afraid, man. You know, I remember at one point in time when I was seeing brothers out on the highways and hedges. I'll never forget when I first started seeing them. I was going through my testimony. I was homeless, and I literally started seeing them down there when they built that casino here. So the Lord was kind of telegraphing when this shit was going down. You know, Dan Gilbert coming here, this fucking devil. That dude, the devil. You got a billionaire in the city, and you don't think that all kind of corruption's gonna come with that shit? I remember I had a job, and the dude that's supposed to give us our paychecks, this motherfucker, instead of bringing up our paychecks, he at the casino. After he loses money, he come. Like, it's just like, now you got all this legalized weed, but you don't even know what the fuck that shit is. It probably got that fucking mRNA shit in it, for real. Goofy ass niggas. I can't even fucking see. I read Proverbs. I read Matthew. I talk about that great persecution. It's the book of Mark. And you know, again, that persecution coming, you're going to have a lot of individuals that's going to deny Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. And, you know, it's a judgment for that as well. It's the book of Mark chapter 8. It says in verse 34, and when he had called the people unto him with his disciples, also he said unto them, whosoever will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. Because the Lord had to suffer, you know, the Lord had to go through an hour of temptation, you know. Yeah. The Lord had to go through certain things, you know, and that's why he's saying you got to deny yourself and take up your cross. Because the scriptures tell you that the servant is not greater than the master. You know, which is deep though. I was just reading it. I forgot how I came to the conclusion of it, but you know, Yahushua was saying how, you know, like the heathen, they lord over you know, the people. My brother said the king Moses, well, the king is supposed to be the most humblest of all. You know, Yahushua came washing their feet. And you know, it really gave me a real different perspective on humble. Because, you know, Yahushua had authority, and he spoke with authority. He tells you that. But yet still, he literally washed his disciples' feet. You know, I've done some humble shit, but at the same time, you know, I battle pride. I think we all can battle it to a degree. Now, I think I've met some very genuinely humble brothers. You know, yeah. Like I was thinking about, like it's another chapter in here I want to bring out because he was going into how like Paul. You know, when you read Paul, you know, you had Agabus that told Paul, whoever, if he went down to what was that, Jerusalem, pretty much they was gonna arrest him. But Paul, you know, and then pretty much it was the disciples, they was all like, don't go, don't go. But Paul said it was the Spirit compelling, I think, Luke and Agabus to say, don't go. But Paul said it was the Spirit compelling him to go. Ultimately, it's the will of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. And that's what the individual that wrote this book came to the conclusion of. You know, it's not our will. You know, in the movie, you might, you thinking you go get the super spiritual power, or you could, you know what I mean? We don't know. And that's why, again, that's why, you know, it's going to be really, truly a gift. Because if you ain't really seen no violence and no shit like that, like I can never say I seen actual combat. You know, I had the opportunity to go to the service. And again, my father waited till after I was a super fella. He's like, why you don't go to the service? I'm like, man, but you know, I never had an interest in it. I like going. And now you look, well, I mean, more than likely, individuals like me will be retired. You know what I'm saying? Like you got individuals that went at 18, did they 20 years and retired and went and started another career. But now, you know, like the elder brothers going into that, you what you think is, you know, like, what did you think? Like, literally, you signing up to be a soldier. So, therefore, like, at times of war, you're going to be, you know, it was sweet when there wasn't no wars and whatnot. But now, and the Lord got a spirit on The Persians, they ain't bullshitting. You know, I just read something they was talking about you were taking them off before. The rich man weeping howl for your miseries. 5 and 1. Onto him with the and follow me. And the Gospels, the same shall save it. For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for a soul? Whosoever therefore shall be ashamed with the holy act. Basically, again, when this great persecution comes, and it's not going to be like individuals with this whole snitching culture that they bring. The dude 6'9", and he was up there. I mean, I get it. We not in the world no more, so you should get offended. But I put my fan to the plow and then turn it. I was like, nigga, what? The Lord gotta fucking forgive you. Don't forget that fucking part. He be like, anyhow. I mean, I was offended. You'll cut your fucking hair if it was for a job. If it was for a bitch. Mindset, you know what I mean? You're supposed to be willing to for your how about Shem Yahshai. When the camera's on you, but my mindset is I don't want to be here. You know what I mean? Like, so that's why you used to call it crazy. I don't. I wake up, I know there's ways to heal yourself, but certain shit can't be healed. Only the Lord. Because at the end of the day, yeah, the herbs, you're supposed to know the herbs and whatnot, but it don't matter. You can use every herb on the planet. Yet still, if the Lord ain't with the prayer or the Lord ain't with healing you, I think I'm going to make it. Then may the Lord go ahead and call you, to the heavens, All right, you got to be careful how you say certain shit, These motherfucker accuser of the brother, then you say some what they try to switch this. This motherfucker literally talking about some, if you say anything against what I'm doing, I think you should be arrested. Like, huh? What happened? So that lets you know you ain't got free speech. So I'm gonna end it with this. Serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. Prepare to be tried, tested, and like I said again, you gotta understand, everybody's not gonna be martyred, but everybody is not gonna like just be hidden and protected. Like the Lord know who got a spirit to be able to endure that. You know, I'll be listening to these motivational quotes, but they use the Joker as the one to bring them out, and it's in his voice and everything. And it talks about a broken man, and it made me think about that. You know, that video that I watched talking about when a man only has God, because when a man really using a man, you know, he breaks him to rebuild him. You know, I've heard in certain brothers' voices. You know what I mean? You know, the Lord made me homeless, so it got me to the point where, you know, I'm grateful that the Lord got me in a house and it's warm, you know. And the craziest part is this: after being homeless, to see all these homeless people, I just went to the library today. That's how me and my demon used to survive when it was too cold, and it ain't even that cold now. But we'd go to the library, and that's what, you know what I mean. Like, yeah, that shit ain't no, man. Listen, and then they cutting the funding on all these places. Like, I mean, and ultimately it's all the Lord. Ain't no escaping. Set thy heart aright, your mind, and constantly endure, and make not haste in the time of trouble. It means to cleave on to Yahweh Shem Shai, because that's the only one that can deliver you from the trouble. Scriptures talk about Yahweh Shai. He saved, he deliverer. Verse 3, cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. You know, because the Lord can take you through something, and then the Lord, you know, when he bring you through it, you get something out of it. That's, you know, like the elder brother says, it's not losses, it's lessons. You know, well, how you say you're gonna make your character, or you're gonna break your character. You know. You know, that's a sign of a strong man. You know, when a man going through a whole bunch of fucked up shit and he just able to hold it within. I'm too fucked up though. I'll probably snap. You know what I mean? Like well, through the will and power of Yahweh Shem Shai, I wouldn't. But I'm saying, like, no, like, I mean, you know, pressure bust pipes is a saying for a reason. I've worked with pipes. You know, pressure hit the motherfucking pipe the wrong way, that bitch snap. Pow! Pipe broken. And that's how some of these individuals' minds gonna snap. Like fucking the Joker, like these movies. You ever seen the movie Falling Down with Kirk Douglas? That nigga worked for the government, and one day he just snapped. He in his car going home, and nigga just snapped and went on like a whole crime spree. It's kind of like that movie Rampage, but it's not. Like, it wasn't as graphic as Rampage, but, you know, literally though, he snapped. He like you know. And a lot of individuals gonna do that. That's why you got individuals killing their children and, you know, just killing people. Hey, well, you can't even really say killing. Deleting. Verse 4, whatsoever is brought upon thee to take and be thing. They was in there saying, what you supposed to, and especially in a wicked ass world. You know, you taught to tell the truth. We telling the truth, and now they want to persecute us. So this can't be a righteous place. You know, it's funny. My children be having spirits. You know what I mean? I know Jake know about that. Spirits be jumping on my children. They be doing some dumb shit sometimes. But I watched the school just lie on my daughter. And I'm thinking she did the shit because she be lying and doing a little stupid shit sometimes. You know. But this time, it was the spirit of the Lord too. Like, literally had the lady call me and then they don't want to actually say that they got it wrong. You know what I mean? But the one particular lady actually texted me late night, like, yeah, when we look at it for real, it wasn't your daughter, was a whole nother daughter, a whole nother little girl. And I'm thinking to myself, like, bitch, how y'all even mistake that? So that just let me know to get her out of the school when the school over with. She ain't going back to them, you bunch of dumb motherfuckers. And they probably don't give a fuck because, you know, they had already had a lot of these schools being downsized and being closed and merging. So you about to have a lot more danger and a lot more violence because a lot of these schools is in different areas and these kids or these children don't get along with these children, but now y'all about to all be in the same school. The will of the Lord. And again, 2 Timothy chapter 3, in the last days, perilous times shall come. I cannot even see. I need to go show you about some glasses, and I got to do another little thing because either I need some glasses, or I'm really, for the Most High is tried in the fire, and for gold, so like I said, the Most High, for gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. And the elect man is going to be like, the gold of Ophir. Tells you that in, I think, was that Isaiah? And acceptable man in the furnace of adversity. So the Lord going to take you through shit to, temper you into that individual that He wants you to be. Elijah, I think about Elijah a lot, because the thing about it, like, the Lord put him in a situation. And then, like I said again, even after the Lord, like, that's how he had a relationship with the Lord. That's like one of my favorite accounts in the scripture. Because I could get in the mindset of Elijah, because at one point in time, it seemed like that. I never said I was him, but what I'm saying is, and even after, him having wholehearted faith in the Lord, he still was lightweight fucked up. Like I said, like, he like, just kill me, Lord. Believe in Him and He will help thee order thy way aright, and trust in Him. You got to trust that this, you got to trust in whatever happens, the Lord got it right. I think of that movie Legion. You're supposed to have angels and the Lord control everything, but then basically Michael escaped heaven to stop the Lord from killing the little baby. But when you look at it from the other perspective, that baby was it's more than one Antichrist. But that child was a demon. But Michael then escaped heaven to go save this goofy bitch and her baby at the end of the world. The baby coming at the end, like, so that was like a dark ass movie when you really take time to think about it. And then to show you how blasphemous they are, again, that pretty much they try to make it seem like the Most High is wrong. Because Michael had to tell him, like, oh, you're doing the wrong thing. And then basically, he had to watch that movie. It wasn't even that good. They had a really huge cast, but I don't think it made the money it's supposed to make, because it wasn't really a good movie. It says, believe in Him and He will help thee order thy way aright, and trust in Him. Scripture say, cursed be the man that trusteth in man, but blessed be the man that trusteth in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. Ye that fear the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, wait for His mercy, and go not aside, lest ye fall. Ye that fear the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, believe Him, and your reward shall not fail. Ye that fear the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, hope for good and for everlasting joy and mercy. Look at the generations of old, and see, did ever any trust in the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua was confounded, or did any abide in His fear and was forsaken? Or whom did He ever despise that called upon Him? For the Lord is full of compassion and mercy, long-suffering, and very pitiful, and forgiveth sins, and saveth in time of affliction. Yeah, he forgives sins, but He doesn't have to forgive sins, do He? That's why He the all omnipotent, all powerful, all knowing. I hear omnipresent. You got omnipotent, omnipresent, all. I was just reading that in when he said good teacher. He said, why you call me good? He said, the only one good is the says forgive sins and save them in time of eternal shit is about to be wasted away. You got that Palantir shit. Like, they know where everybody the fuck at. So like you might as well just go with them. If the taking out right there, and right before his eyes, he knew it was right there. See it, but it was right there. And that shit happens all the time. Overlooking something, or it could be just the Lord. The Lord can just do that. Think about it. Esau coming up with the technology to try to give the blind back their or block you. And I was just reading that in Mark as well. Verse 12. Oh, fearful hearts and faint hands and believe not. Therefore, how about Shem Yahushua shall be that love him will keep his ways. They that fear the Lord Yahweh, they that fear the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua will seek that which is well pleasing unto him, and they that love him shall be filled with the law. They that fear the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua will prepare their hearts, their minds, and humble their souls in his sight, saying, we will fall into the hands of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Camper brothers with you. The fact that wasn't nobody coming to deliver me. Yeah, if you make it to that spot, again, like people don't even really have a inkling of what the fuck it's gonna be like. Like, have you ever seen lawlessness? Like, I ran the streets. Niggas will do certain shit, but then they don't want to get caught. You know what I mean? But just imagine, ain't nobody coming to catch you. They don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? Now take that and meditate on that for a minute. Straight fucking anarchy. Like one of these movies. I was locked up when they had one of those BLM protests. And the thing is, they was going to release me, but they was going to release you at a certain time. So I just knew I wasn't getting out of that bitch because they down there, they throwing Molotov cocktails and all kinds of shit. I'm watching this shit. And the Lord released me. Call Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. I pray the Lord watch over his hopeful elect. We know he's going to watch over his elect. But I pray that he watch over me, my household, as well as all you sincere Akim, throughout the earth, pushing the truth with faith and sincerity. Shalom to, the true believers and the men that's doing his work in their households. So with that, I want to give all praise, all honor. Oh, you so-called Blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, Seminole Indians, West Indians, and Haitians, I pray that you repent and come back to the laws, statutes, and commandments of your power, whose true name in the Paleo Hebrew is Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, or you will be destroyed. And with that, I want to give all praise, all honor, all glory to call Loyam La Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem double honors to the elders, to the apostles that have learned this truth from. Peace and salutations to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing the truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and the freedom to do so, now more so than ever. Shalom to the Akim and the Aqua for listening and learning. Lord willingly, this is edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad in the land of other nations, appearing like the other nations, but who subscribe to this truth. To you, I say shalom. Till next time, Lord willingly, shalom, shalom. Kwame Yasharallah and Mawatha Lababal.